Welcome everybody to one of my favorite topics, field service, anything field service, but especially talking about best practices and how do we get these successful field service deployments. Little background on the two speakers, one of which got scared away and went home. So no, he had to get called back to Redmond on me, but Darren Liu couldn't be here. He's our principal PM manager. I'm Eric Dipple, Senior R&D Field Service Solution Architect, R&D Architect. I'm really part of engineering, but we're customer facing. So I work very closely with the product group, and we're kind of the direct link between engineering and our customers and partners. I have the distinct pleasure of being one of the people that actually came from Field 1. So it's been great to see how far this product has come underneath Microsoft and the great advancements we're making with it. Today's sessions, really want to make sure everybody understands what we're covering today. This isn't going to be a deep technical session on all the different features available in field service. There's excellent opportunities later today for some good technical sessions like that. We're really focused on what are the best practices when you're looking at implementing field service? What should we care about with the out-of-the-box entities? How can customizations actually be a negative impact when you're doing field service? And even though field service is part of CRM and we get to leverage all the great functionality of doing customizations around CRM, when it comes to field service, there's some considerations you have to take into account for things to be successful. We're going to talk a little bit about the mobile experience and what we can do to make sure our technicians have the good mobile experience. That's one of the most critical parts of user adoption. If a company's field service engineers don't want to use that experience, it can really make the rest of the field service implementation hard to leverage. And then the booking experience, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well and how to get your dispatchers a good booking experience. Again, if anybody's looking for technical coverage on this, there's an exit right behind you. That's a great place to go and maybe head to the expo booth and that because we're not diving in that today. I do expect everybody to at least understand what field service is. We're going to go through this pretty quick today. There's quite a bit I'm going to try to cover. One thing I want to bring up, everything I do today is going to be based on past deployment scenarios, issues that I've run into, our team has run into, what we've seen, both good and bad. So I want to introduce a scenario to you, a typical case that we have. A company's got a set of requirements. Field engineers are often using a mobile device where there is no cell data, there is no Wi-Fi connections at all. Those field engineers, while they're on site, might be sent there to do some work on a given work order, go repair a specific machine, but while they're there, the customer needs them to look at something else as well. So they want to be able to have a new work order, maybe schedule that to themselves and be able to work on that kind of functionality. The dispatchers need to be able to have a good view of resource and capacity. What are their resources being used for? The technicians, what are they being used for? Who's available? That kind of thing. They also want to track the work that the engineers are doing in the field. Is it being done during regular time, overtime? In this customer scenario, they even want to be able to track different types of overtime. So we're going to talk about how they ended up being able to do this. The challenge, when the initial design went into this and the customer was having a terrible time using it, performance was bad, just wasn't working out well for them. So I got to go in and try to help the customer and partner get a better understanding. We had over 75 custom entities that were in the environment, well over 50 plugins that were created that ran synchronously. Well, about 30, a little over 30 real-time workflows that were in the system. And there was a lot of these key out-of-the-box entities that weren't being leveraged. So we're going to kind of keep this scenario in the mind. We're going to go through some best practices, and we'll take a look at how we refactored this scenario. First thing is entity review. So I know that slide may be a little busy, a little hard to see. We're going to go through this slide in more detail as we go. This is an overall diagram of not every entity, but those important entities that are really the heart of a field service implementation, like your work order, the bookings that you have against your work orders, work order incidents, things like that. We're going to talk about the important ones, what to do with each entity, and maybe what not to do with each entity. So let's take a look at incident type. This is a very important entity, and a lot of times it's not looked at during a field service implementation until you're well in to the implementation. What you'll find a lot of times, you'll go through the design and initial requirements gathering, and now we're starting to show the customer a little bit of what you're planning to build out, what you might be implementing. One of the questions I see that comes up is the customer wants to know, well, can we do like a work order template so that we're not putting all the same information in over and over? That's really what an incident type can do for you. You can think of it like a work order template. Why it's important to look at it up front is it can be a little bit of work to set these up initially. It can be a lot of data that you have to put in and get all these different incident types put into the system. Plan for that ahead of time. Make sure you're looking at the incident type. There's so much functionality driven from this entity. And it's something that once you do implement it correctly and you get it in there, your customer can benefit from this incident type and just save a tremendous amount of work on setting up work orders. The incident type allows you to identify the generic work order information, your description and what kind of work is going to be done. You can also associate all the different work order products, which we'll talk about, work order services and service tasks, we're going to talk about those, can all be tied to an incident. When I create a work order, all I have to do is select my incident type, and all that information is populated on the work order. One of the most important things in field service for a work order from a booking standpoint is having a duration. We should know how long do you think it's going to take to do this work order. It's the incident type is the best way to make sure that estimated duration gets on that work order. So again, there's so much that this incident type can do for you, and I see it all too often that we don't look at it until we're starting that development phase, or it's the first time the customer has seen your pilot that you're going to do, and the customer realizes having to put in all these work orders is a lot of work, and we didn't leverage incident types. Some recommendations when you do start implementing this. If I have an incident type and I start creating work orders for that incident type, and now I go back and make a change to my incident type, all those existing work orders are not impacted. So understand how that works. That actually can be a really good thing because you may not want the existing ones. Maybe you're making a change to that incident type and adding some additional work to do, but it only applies going forward. We don't update existing work orders to reflect changes to an incident type. Agreements in field service, and we're going to look at those, but agreements can also leverage incident types. As I mentioned, out of the box, the only true way to make sure your work orders have an accurate or a reasonable estimated duration is through the use of incident types. Agreements. Again, another one of these entities that we don't really start looking at up front when we should. Everybody's so focused on work orders when we go into a field service implementation. Think of an agreement as kind of a contract. It's agreement between the customer and their service accounts to provide services on a scheduled basis. The simple example I always use for this is a preventative maintenance scenario. We know we have to go to that customer every week and maybe service some equipment. Maybe we're going to go out to a construction site every week and make sure their rental equipment that they're getting from us is maintained properly and ready to go. So I may create an agreement with a schedule associated to it to have a work order to send a technician out every week. The agreements can auto-generate those work orders for you. The agreement can auto-generate the booking for you. Once you set that agreement up, everything can be handled from that standpoint. What's important is when you're doing that requirement gathering, make sure you're keeping agreements in mind and how you can leverage them for the customer. When you set up an agreement and you set up the recurrence pattern, how are we going to generate these work orders? Do we need daily, weekly, monthly? It's much like setting up a recurring appointment in Outlook. You have a lot of the same functionality to decide how frequently you need to go out and do some work for the customer. You have a number of options on agreements, where one of the big ones is saying, okay, I want to generate my work orders. I have to have a work order every week, but I want to pre-generate those work orders maybe a month ahead. So always a month ahead, I can see those weekly work orders out there. What I run into a lot is a customer will say, okay, I want to generate them a year ahead. So I want these work orders out there a year ahead, and they may have thousands of agreements in the system, and they're generating a year's worth of work orders. Problem with that is, let's say the customer calls up and says, you know what, I can't have you come on a Tuesday anymore. I need you to come on a Wednesday. So you go into the recurrence pattern. That's what we call in agreement, we call it a recurrence pattern that defines how the work orders are created. And you change it from Tuesday to Wednesday. That year's worth of work orders that's sitting out there doesn't change to Wednesday. You're going to have to go delete all those work orders, and you will get new ones. What you have to watch out for is you could get work orders left for Tuesday like they were and end up with additional work orders on a Wednesday. So again, when you're doing the requirements gathering, one of the questions around agreements I always ask is, how often do the agreements or that arrangement with your service location out there change? Are you going to need to change that recurrence pattern often? That's the kind of stuff you want to be looking at. They're great, they work very well. Just really understand, what does that recurrence pattern for an agreement look like? Last point on agreements is staggering. When does the work order get created? If I can set it up so that some are going to be work orders for Monday, and then other work orders are going to be going on Wednesday. What you have to remember is when the agreement processing kicks off, and it has to go out now and generate all these, a lot of customers set it up so at the end of the month, they're generating everything for the next month. We had one customer that resulted in about 150,000 work orders getting generated for the next month. That's a big load. It'll do it. Field service can handle that kind of load. CRM is going to experience a slowdown when that is running. That's a lot of data to start shoving into the environment. So just pay attention to that on agreements. Bookable resources, which is essentially your field service technician, as well as a number of other things. So a bookable resource doesn't have to represent a person. The resource can be equipment, a facility. We have a lot of different resource types. Another, important area when you're doing that requirements gathering to focus on bookable resource does your customer not only have to send people with the right skill, but I have to make sure they're taking the right equipment with them to do that job. You can set that equipment up as bookable resources. You can put skills on that equipment so that when I'm scheduling this work order and I'm sending somebody to go do the work, I may also have a piece of equipment go with them that matches what is needed. For your technicians, your people, we set up work hours. This really defines what time of day, what's their working schedule for a given technician. Make sure you take the time to set those up before you start letting the customer interact with the system. It'll make a lot more sense to the customer when they go into the scheduling experience, whether schedule board or booking assistant, if all of your resources have the right working hours set up. We do now support a working hours template. So the work hours today is a feature that was been in CRM forever. You've seen that. We're on just a CRM user. You can go to that work hours calendar. Nobody really likes that UI. We're making it better. I'll be the first to admit it is a challenging experience to interact with that work hours calendar. What we have now is you can set up a template. So maybe you've got resources that work 3 on and 1 off and 4 on or 1 off or whatever it might be. You can set templates up and then apply those to new resources that you're bringing in so you don't have to go through all the work of going into the nice fancy calendar we tried to create. Resource territories. This is really an area that you want to make sure the territories themselves, how you're structuring those, whether you're going to have a few thousand territories because the areas that those territories represent are really small, or can you have larger areas, fewer territories, and put more resources into that? We're going to talk about territories when we get to the scheduling experience because depending on how many territories you have, that can result in more work for the schedulers to figure out which territory they want to look at. But make sure you associate your resources with the right territories and pay attention to the scenario where you're going to have resources in multiple territories. There's a lot to consider if a single resource works in multiple territories, which is fine. We do it a lot. But when you get to that booking experience, especially if you're going to use the RSO, our automated routing capabilities, how you associate these resources to territories gets to be really important. And it's really around having multiple resources or having resources across multiple territories. Some of the things to really consider and watch out for. One of the resource types that we have today is called generic. A generic resource type is not bookable. If I create a generic resource type, it won't show on the schedule board, it won't show up in our booking assistant, RSO won't give it any work orders. It's just a generic type out there. There are times when we would use that. I won't necessarily go into all the details on that right now, but I just want you to understand that generic resource type, if you need to ever schedule it, you don't want to utilize the generic resource type. We do have, every resource can have the ability to identify where do they start their day at, what's the latitude and longitude or address of where they're going to start their day and finish their day. It could be an office location that they are always starting at and finishing at because they have to drive to the office to get their truck, then they start going to all the different work orders. Maybe they take their truck home with them and they always start their day from home. So they're going to drive from their home to their first job. You have settings for that on the resource. The other thing you can do is say this resource is location agnostic. That means that our scheduling tools, our booking assistant, RSO, and that isn't going to try to calculate how long it's going to take them to drive to that first job. They have no location. Generally, I'll use location agnostic when I have a resource that doesn't travel. I still want to assign work orders to them. I still want to give them schedules. But maybe they're resources that work at my repair facility. So they're not going to travel anywhere. So I can put them as location agnostic. Once you create a bookable resource and you choose what resource type it's going to be and you save that record, you can no longer change that resource type. You'll have to deactivate that bookable resource or delete the bookable resource and create a new one. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, everybody's favorite entity. Whenever you think of field service, first thing that comes to mind is a work order. Just like the order, what I've done with the slide deck here, I didn't put work order first. Even though it's the most common entity we have, it's not always the first entity you want to start thinking about when you're deploying field service. The work order is what is going to show up most often, and that's what we are going to associate to. But in order to have good functioning work orders, we've got to make sure we've covered those other entities first. On the work order, you have a work order type. That can kind of define, is this a preventative maintenance job? Is it going to be something where we're doing just an inspection of a piece of equipment? The types can reflect the different types of work you're going to do. So an incident can define what that work looks like. An incident has a type on it. So you may have a lot of incidents for a PM work order type. The work order sub-status is there. So in field service, you have two status fields on the work order. You have what's known as the system status and a sub-status. The sub-status is a lookup to another entity. So you can have all the sub-statuses you want. When you create a sub-status, you can also say this sub-status has this system status with it. The system status you should never change. You don't want to go in and start adding your own system status values because that's where our business logic drives from. Keep that in mind. They're always use that sub-status, and we'll get into that a little deeper in a second here. One of my favorite ones, and I see this happen all the time, is how do I identify when this work needs to be done? We have two ways of doing that. Everybody understands the concept of a promise window, especially if we look at a cable company. Your cable's out, you call them up, and they're really good about saying we'll be there sometime between 8 a.m. and noon, which is always not good for me, but that's what a promise window does as well. So what time did you tell your customer somebody is going to arrive? It's not when the work will be done by, it's when they're going to arrive. The important thing with a promise window that I see happen is people will put Monday at 8 a.m. to Wednesday at 5 p.m. That doesn't mean that you're going to have somebody arrive on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday between 8 to 5. That means you're going to have somebody arrive sometime between Monday at 8 a.m. and Wednesday at 5 p.m. So if there's a technician who is working at 2 in the morning on Tuesday, the booking assistant, our automated scheduling tools, very well could suggest that as being the best time to send the technician. I always like to recommend that a promise window is 1 day only. It's on that day. What time on that day are they going to be there? The start time and end time is made up of 4 fields. You can specify a date range, like a Monday through Wednesday, and you can specify a time range, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If I use those 4 fields, now what you're telling the system is this work order can be done on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, anytime between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. So now when my dispatcher tries to find an available time slot, they'll see resources that are available between 8 to 5 on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. That's the difference on these. Looking at the recommendations, that's the most important one I have when it comes to the work order, is the promise window is a continuous duration. It's not broken up by the days. If you used all of them, if I define a promise window and I define my start window and end window, the promise window overrides it. Essentially, it's like you didn't even set the other values. Incident type, we've talked about that already. It's very important to make sure you're setting those incident types up correctly and using them in the system. Don't overlook that entity. It'll drive the work order and make sure the resource requirement associated to that work order has a duration on it. From a customization standpoint, this is the one entity that you can very quickly cause performance problems in your system. If you start writing a lot of custom logic tied to the work order entity or any of these other entities on the screen, including those child entities that run synchronously, you can very quickly start to see performance problems when those plugins and workflows and that kind of stuff is synchronously. I'll always, when I'm first working with partners and customers on a new implementation, first thing I tell them is, on the work order, and any child record on the work order, you must not create a synchronous plugin or real-time workflow. Obviously, there's times we have to, but I lead with that message. Because if you don't, in the scenario we were just looking at, where there was 50 plus synchronous plugins, about over 30 of them were all on the work order or child records. The agreement processing starts running, and it's trying to create 10,000 work orders in your system on one day, and you've got all these synchronous plugins going, firing every time the system is trying to create these work orders. You'll start seeing errors and just bring that system to its knees. So stay away from that, please. Anybody who's in this session and I see that happen, I'm really going to be disappointed. I have run into that too many times now. Bookable resource booking, which is a really long way of saying a work order schedule. We do have it's bookable resource booking because you can schedule anything you want now in CRM. You don't have to just do work orders. Obviously, I'm focusing on that today, but the bookable resource booking identifies when this work is going to be done and who's going to do it. So a work order will get a bookable resource booking associated to it when you're essentially scheduling that work order for a resource and maybe some equipment and sending people on site to do this work. The bookable resource or booking record has a status field as well. What's unique here is we don't have two status fields anymore. We just have a booking status field, which is a separate entity. So on my bookable resource booking, I can identify my booking status. When my technician is using the mobile device and they set the status to traveling, they're changing the booking status. That booking status record has a couple of fields on it, one of which is the field service status. So if I set up a booking status of traveling, I can say that the field service status should change to traveling. So now my work order will reflect the status of that booking. The thing that is important here is that booking status, when I change the booking status, you will update the work order to reflect the corresponding system status that's set there. A booking status identifies what work order system status do you want applied. There's also some estimated and actual travel times and estimated arrival time fields. What's important to understand when you're working with the customers out there and doing one of these implementations, make sure you are aware of how those fields are getting set. How does the estimated arrival time get set, and when will it get set? Same thing with actual arrival time. If you use our booking tools, like the Booking Assistant, RSO, we'll set the estimated arrival time for you and the estimated duration, travel duration field for you. It calculates how long it's going to take somebody to drive there, either from their previous job or from their starting location, depending. The actual values, the actual arrival time gets set when the technician changes the status from traveling to in progress. If they skip traveling and just set it to in progress, then that'll show up as the actual arrival time. That's when that is getting set. Or if a dispatcher's on our schedule board and they change the status to in progress, that's going to set the actual arrival time. So you just keep an eye on how that works. There is also an actual travel duration field out of the box. If you're using the mobile device, it will, and the technician remembers to set the set the work order status to traveling, and then he starts driving, gets to the customer's locations and sets the booking status to in progress because now he's on site and working. The actual travel duration will get calculated and set for you based on his timestamp changes. There's two key entities that track all those status changes. There's a booking timestamp and a booking journal. These two entities either never get looked at, or what I see often is customizations that are done to these entities. My recommendation here is it's okay to use these entities. Read the entities, look at the data that's here. But the booking timestamp and the booking journal are two entities that you shouldn't try to build a lot of customization around where you're modifying the behavior of those entities. Let's take a look at why. So the booking timestamp, every time I have a status change, a booking timestamp record is created. It shows the time of when that status happened and what the status was being set to. So I know what time did they set it to traveling, I know what time did they set it to in progress. Once I set it to completed, the system will take all those timestamps and create journals for you. Think of a journal as like a roll-up of what happened. The journals have that duration. Don't try to customize the journals. Don't try to build a customization that writes your own journals. Field service deletes all the journals that were there and recreates them anytime that status goes to completed. And then when it goes from completed, if the work order goes to like a closed posted because you've invoiced it, your journals may get regenerated there as well. We'll delete any of your journal records if you create them outside of field service. So use these entities, take that data, and if you want some customization for timesheet functionality, that's where you'll maybe set up a custom entity in that case and take that information out to your own entities so you don't have to worry about how our logic will affect them. They're great to use. A lot of good information there that'll help you with that. Just avoid customizing them. Which I've already covered this stuff, so let's take a look now. Let's go back to our customer scenario. And how did we refactor this to get things turned around and make this happen? First thing we did is the customer had set up their own entity to track labor. What was the technician doing? Because they wanted all this fancy calculation for overtime, different types of overtime that we don't support out of the box. So they didn't even use the work order service entity. They created a custom one. Their custom had all the same functionality ours had with just a few additional things. Went back to using our work order service entity instead. The product catalog, they didn't use at all, which also meant they couldn't use any of the pricing functionality. One of the things field service has is a minimum charge. You can say for this service, we're going to bill the customer at least 3 hours. They weren't using any of that. They had close to 10 entities just for pricing functionality because they didn't use the product catalog. Same thing with the timestamp. They weren't even looking at our timestamps that we already had. They created custom entities, custom plugins on the bookable resource booking record to track all these status changes. So they duplicated our timestamp functionality. The work order service task is another way to put line items on a work order that say, okay, technician, you have to make sure you've checked off these things. Did you do these tasks, yes or no? That's what a work order service task is great for. Again, they didn't want to customize that, so they went out and created their own entity. A lot of custom plugins and workflows associated to that, we brought it back to using the out-of-the-box. The final result, and you've all heard the saying, a happy wife, happy life. Happy customer, happy life. With that customer, after this refactoring, the performance was there, the mobile experience was there, things really turned around. Makes the implementation go so much better when you do that. We reduced custom entities from over 75 to 15. There were no more synchronous plugins or real-time workflows on that work order and child entities. Just doing that took this implementation from where the customer was about ready to walk away to where they can't get it rolled out fast enough. Let's talk a little bit about unified scheduling. Field service, we have this scheduling functionality. What you're going to start to realize is when you get into this, we really have unified scheduling, and its field service makes use of that. Because unified scheduling, you can now set up opportunities, cases, anything you want, custom entities. You can book those just like you do with a work order in field service. That's because of unified scheduling. However, there are some things when you're looking at the scheduling experience that you want to make sure you're setting up. One, obviously, enable the map access. Make sure you've turned on the auto geocoding. If service locations, which indicate where somebody's going to go do the work, or addresses for where a technician starts their day and ends their day, if we don't have latitude and longitudes in the system, there's no way to know what the drive time is going to be and how far apart these jobs are going to be, so you won't get a booking experience that's usable. Enable that map access and the auto geocoding so everything is getting geocoded. That should be part of just standing up a new environment. Before you do anything in an environment where field service exists or unified scheduling exists, make sure that stuff is turned on. Look at your customers' data, especially account records that you're going to bring in, to make sure that the latitude and longitudes values are already set. Keep in mind, if you're importing account records, which are going to represent service locations, and you're importing records with latitude and longitude values, even though you have auto geocoding on, it's not like we're going to validate that latitude and longitude. We're going to leave it because we don't, maybe you set it that way for a reason. So a lot of times when I'm importing records, if you import records with just an address but no latitude and longitude, we'll re-geocode it as those records are coming in. So you may want to consider importing your customer's account records without a latitude and longitude, but a good address. And that also, the other thing I like about doing that, I'll watch for accounts then that come in through the import that never get a latitude and longitude. That tells me I have an invalid address. There's settings for what we call a default radius. So when I'm taking a work order and I'm trying to find who can do this work order, that's when I first hit that find availability button to go look for my resources and that, there's things we want to do to try to return that result set as quickly as possible so the dispatchers are getting that good experience. Make sure you've set up a reasonable default radius. What that means is, what's the radius around that work order, that service location, that I should take into account, or the booking tools should take into account when it's looking for resources. If you set it to 5 miles, more than likely, the initial window opens and no resources are shown, because who may be within 5 miles of that particular location? If you set it to 1,000 miles, you may get everybody, but now it could take a very long time, because we all know we'd probably not send somebody to drive 1,000 miles to do that work. We want somebody close. So work with your customer and think about what's a reasonable default radius. That's one of those settings that nobody really sets until the customer's live or in a pilot, and all of a sudden they're either frustrated because they never see any results the first time they open it and they have to change something. And it's a great way to have that first experience for your customer be very positive, because you've set up a good default radius. The schedule board has the ability for auto-filtering a service territory. What that means is, as the dispatcher, I'm on my schedule board and I say, okay, I only want to see what's in this territory. There's a setting that tells the schedule board, if somebody changes the territory, refilter what you're showing on the schedule board to match that territory. That can be a very useful setting. It's not there as a default. You need to turn those on. So when you're setting up these schedule boards, take a look at that setting. Custom geodata entity has to do with tracking your mobile users. You can have, out of the box, we already track where the technicians are at based on their mobile device. If you have an external system that's tracking your fleet, Maximo or whatever it might be, you have the ability to bring in that external system's data instead. And now when you look at our schedule board and our map view and you want to see the pins of where, or the little truck icon of where somebody's at real time, it'll use your third-party system to show that information to you. The last thing on this slide is the default schedule board tab. Every installation of field service gets an initial tab created and a tab that we hide called the default schedule board tab. And those are the settings that get applied every time a user creates a new one. On the entity that we store that information in, you'll see that big, ugly looking string of text there. Don't ever try to modify that directly. If you modify that on those 2 tabs that we provide out of the box, you can corrupt it, and now your schedule board will not open anymore. So don't try to edit that. We do provide the ability to change the settings on the default schedule board. When you're working with the customer and you start looking at that schedule board, I'm trying to get through this, I'm already down to 2 minutes, goodness. When you're trying to get through this, there's different views on the schedule board. You can look at it in hourly view, think of Outlook. It's kind of that experience. But we also have a days view, weeks view, hours view. Your customer, when they go into that initial pilot and they really start using this, they're going to see those views and want to work with them. Set the right expectation during the requirements gathering and design reviews. A daily, the hourly view is great for a dispatcher if we're manually scheduling, dragging stuff up and dropping it and just doing a lot of scheduling. The hourly view works great for that. The daily view is a wonderful picture, a wonderful view of what your resources are doing across multiple days. I don't personally like it for a field service booking experience. If you don't set those expectations with your customer, you could go in and the customer wants that hourly experience on the day's view. And now you've got to revert, and you've got to help the customer understand why they can't do that, where if we set it up front, there's no expectations on that. Last thing we're going to talk about, the mobile. We'll make this, it's pretty simple. On the mobile experience, the number one thing you have to watch for is the speed, the sync time. So getting that data between your CRM and onto the mobile device, because you can work in offline mode or online mode. There's one setting that a lot of people overlook. In the tool that you use to build out your mobile experience, we call it Woodford. For each entity, you can say, I want this entity when it synchronizes data to do a standard sync or do an always full sync. By default, it's standard. Think of standard as incremental, so we're only getting change data. Always full sync brings everything that they're allowed to see. There's actually times when the always full sync will give a better performance on the sync time. If you have an entity that has a lot of data and a lot of changes happening to that data, but the technician only needs to see a small amount of it, set it to always full sync. Customer equipment is a great example. You'll have millions of rows of customer equipment. And every time a work order is created to do something to that piece of customer equipment, the modified date on that customer equipment record changes. If I have it set to standard sync, I'm still syncing all that data down. If I set it to always full sync, then it only syncs down what the user is going to look at. On a standard sync, it brings everything down and then deletes it locally so they don't see what they shouldn't. A full sync, what they both bring all the data, or they're both trying to get all the data. It's just, do we filter it on the mobile or do we filter it back up at the server? So a lot of data, a lot of transactions, but I only want my technician to get a small portion of that data. Set it to full sync. There's a really great article on Resco's website, a blog article about this. Good and bad for mobile scenarios. This is my last slide that we're going to really get into, especially because I'm out of time. What I want to touch here is, when do you work in offline mode versus online mode? Offline mode is a great experience for that technician, especially when they don't have connectivity that can still do the work they need to do. However, your dispatchers don't have real-time visibility of what's happening because the server doesn't get updated until they sync again. If you set the mobile project to work in online mode by default, you have to watch out because you can use a lot of cell data. I've had customers that felt like online mode by default was going to be the great way to go, and they were using thousands of gigabytes of data across all their technicians, because now in online mode, the device is not looking at the local data. It's always talking to CRM. That can generate a lot of traffic. So keep in mind what the differences are there. I do want to give a chance to take some questions here. And I apologize, I had to go right through this stuff. I tried to convince Ben to give me a longer slot, but he wouldn't do it. Data integration, we're going to take a look at inventory. When you're setting up data integration, field service has a lot of great inventory functionality. So make sure you look at how you're going to integrate your customer's ERP system, especially with inventory, so the technicians know how many on hand, how many available, that kind of information. Please take the time to fill out the evaluation. I appreciate that very much. Darren said that he was sure everybody'd give me a 5, so I guess I have nothing to worry about. But I'm happy to take questions if you want to step up to the mic. I know we're already 3 minutes over. I'll be here as well, so please, I'll stay as long as needed to answer questions if people need to go, but step up to a mic or come on up and see me. And thank you very much for coming today.